If you have come new on our channel, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and like the video and many much. Asterisk, they say the world breaks everyone and some people it just breaks faster, but there are a rare few, who carry the weight of everything, give until there's nothing left, and still manage to change someone else's life with the one thing they never lost, their kindness. This is the story of a woman who had nothing left, no money, no strength, no future, but whose quiet act of compassion saved a man who had already given up on himself. And if you've ever felt like you have nothing left to offer, this story is for you. Her name was Sana. She used to be someone, not someone famous or wealthy, but someone people respected. She had once been a school teacher, loved by her students, admired in her neighborhood. Her laugh used to echo through the narrow streets of the town where she lived. And even though her life was simple, it had been enough. A small home, a job she cared about, and her husband Farhan, who was her partner in everything. They had little, but their days were full of purpose. But that was before the accident. The bus Farhan boarded one rainy evening never made it to the other side of the bridge. One moment he was waving goodbye with that crook smile she loved, and the next he was gone. Just like that, in the blink of a red signal, her whole world folded inward. In the months that followed, life stopped being life. It became something she endured, like cold weather or hunger. The school said she could take time off, but time didn't help. Bills piled up, and soon the house was gone, then the job. And finally the spark in her eyes. Sana drifted from shelters to women's homes, surviving on charity and memories. People forgot her name. Even she began to. One day, standing in line outside a local soup kitchen, Sana overheard someone say, "She looks empty." Like she's already gone? The words weren't cruel, they were just, true. And sometimes the truth feels colder than a winter night. But what they didn't see was that, inside, a flicker still remained. It wasn't hope. It wasn't even faith. It was something quieter: kindness. The kind that doesn't need anything in return. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that survives even when everything else is gone. On the other side of the city, in a park littered with forgotten lives and empty bottles, lived a man named Zaryab. No one knew where he came from, but the rumors were endless. Some said he had been a banker. Others whispered he had once had a family. But now, all they saw was a man with hollow eyes speaking to birds and walls. He was known as Ghost because he never asked for anything, never accepted help. Never looked anyone in the eye. Zaryab had given up a long time ago. Pain had stolen his words. Time had taken his pride. He slept on a wooden bench, wrapped in torn blankets, clutching a small notebook that no one had ever seen him open. One afternoon, Sana passed by that same bench, walking slowly, carrying a single piece of bread given by a kind stranger. She saw him sitting there, motionless, staring into the dirt. Something in his face reminded her of Farhan. Not the way he looked, but the way he didn't look at the world anymore. That empty stillness. The kind you only recognize when you've lived. She hesitated. She hadn't eaten all day, but something inside her moved. She broke the bread in half. Without speaking, she offered one half to him. For a second, he didn't react. Then slowly, almost unwillingly, he reached out and took it. Their eyes met for a brief moment. No thank you, no conversation. Just silence. But something passed between them, a recognition. A human moment. The next day, she came again. This time with a bottle of water and a worn-out scarf she no longer needed. Then a second handbook. Then a warm cup of chai she begged from the kitchen. She didn't have a job. She didn't have a home. But what she did have, she gave, not out of charity. Not because she wanted to save him, but because she understood him. Slowly, the silence between them began to shift. He started nodding when she came. Then one day, he asked her name. Another day, he told her his. Then, without warning, he handed her his notebook. The one he always held but never opened. Inside were pages, dozens of them, filled with music. Notes, lyrics, half-written songs, unfinished poems. Zaryab had once been a musician. A composer? His wife had died of cancer. His only child had stopped speaking to him after he gave in to depression. Music was all he had left, but even that he had buried under years of shame and silence. Sana read through the notebook. Not as a critic, not as a fan, but as someone who believed. The next day, she went to a small community center nearby and convinced the caretaker to let Zaryab play one evening. "He's not looking for fame," she said softly. "He just needs to remember who he used to be." That evening, in a dim room with flickering lights and borrowed chairs, Zaryab played again. Shaky at first, then smoother. The people listened. Some smiled, some cried, but Zaryab, he came alive. And for the first time in years, he looked up not at the ground, but at the people. And at Sanadat from that night onward, everything changed. The community center asked him to teach music to local children. A small newspaper wrote a story about the man who found his music again. Slowly, a life returned. Not the same one he'd lost, but a new one, made possible because someone believed in him when he couldn't. And Sana? Someone at the center asked if she'd ever considered working with children again. She smiled. Not the broken kind of smile she used to give, but the real one. "Yes," she said, "I'd love that." Within weeks, she had a small job as an assistant tutor. Not much, but enough to stand again. They both had nothing. They were forgotten by the world, by society, by even themselves. But one act of quiet kindness, one piece of bread, started a ripple neither of them could have imagined, because the truth is, you never know what someone is carrying. You never know what one small act can awaken in a heart that's gone silent. Sana had nothing left to give, but her kindness saved him anyway. If this story moved your heart, please like the video, subscribe to our channel every day. Grace, and share it with someone who still believes that kindness has power. Because sometimes, when we think we have nothing left, that's when we have the most to give. Asterisk.